I've seen you since you were small expanded. I used to think that my college campus was a safe haven, a place where old brick buildings and quiet libraries offered refuge from the chaos of the outside world. But everything changed the day I began to notice a shadow trailing me during my early morning jogs. At first, it was just a vague silhouette in the distance, a dark smear against the pre-dawn sky. I told myself it was nothing more than a trick of the light or an overactive imagination. Yet deep inside, an unsettling feeling began to fester. One crisp October morning, as I pushed myself along the familiar trail near the old campus park, my phone buzzed unexpectedly. I pulled it out, expecting a mundane notification, only to find a voicemail. With hesitant fingers, I pressed play. A distorted, childlike voice whispered, "I've seen you since you were small." My heart pounded in disbelief. I tried to dismiss it as a cruel prank, a case of misdialed numbers or a hoax from an unknown sender. But as the days passed, more voicemails arrived, each one echoing that same eerie declaration, sometimes punctuated with additional cryptic phrases like, "Your secrets are mine, and I never forget." Compelled by a mix of dread and curiosity, I began digging into the campus archives. Late nights at the library turned into a ritual of poring over yellowed newspapers and forgotten yearbooks. I stumbled upon a disturbing legend. Decades ago, a student named Marianne Holloway had vanished without a trace. Marianne was a quiet, withdrawn soul, often described as having a haunted look in her eyes. Rumor had it that she possessed a strange ability to see into people's hidden depths, a gift or a curse that set her apart. Her disappearance was shrouded in mystery, and while the authorities had dismissed it as a case of runaway despair, hushed whispers spoke of something far more sinister. In the margins of an old campus magazine, I found a faded sketch of a girl with sorrowful eyes, a sketch that bore an uncanny resemblance to the descriptions of Marianne. Then came the sightings. I started to see the figure everywhere. It was in the flicker of a street lamp as I jogged home in the early hours, a fleeting, ghostly outline in the reflection of a rain-smeared window, and once in the shadow of an ancient oak in the quad. I swore I saw a girl in tattered clothes, with eyes that glowed in the dark. The sensation of being watched, of having an unseen presence study my every move, grew more oppressive with each passing day. Desperation drove me to set up a digital camera in my cramped dorm room, aimed directly at the mirror that had become a focal point of my nightmares. Night after night, I reviewed the grainy footage. In one particularly chilling clip, I caught a glimpse of a pale face, half obscured by shadow, standing at the foot of my bed. It never moved, never spoke. It simply existed, an unyielding testament to the terror that had taken root in my life. I couldn't shake the thought that the messages and the sightings were connected. The voicemails hinted at a secret only someone from my childhood could know. With trembling hands, I dug through a box of old family photos I had long forgotten. Among the faded images, one particular photograph sent shivers down my spine. A blurry picture of me as a child, but in the background, a gaunt figure with sorrowful, knowing eyes lurked, a face that bore an eerie resemblance to the sketch of Marianne Holloway. The more I learned, the more the pieces fell into place. It seemed that Marianne's legend was intertwined with my own life. According to a forgotten campus record, Marianne had been an outcast, misunderstood and isolated, her only solace found in the dark corners of the library and the quiet pathways of the campus. Some believed her spirit never left these grounds, instead roaming in search of recognition, of a friend to share her burden of hidden truths. And now, inexplicably, she had chosen me. One particularly stormy night, the stalking reached its crescendo. I returned to my apartment to find the front door ajar, swaying gently as if nudged by an unseen hand. My pulse raced as I stepped inside, flashlight trembling in my grasp. The room was in disarray, papers scattered, a lamp shattered on the floor, and on the kitchen table lay a crumpled note, its ink smeared by what I later suspected were tears. It read simply, "You can run, but you'll never be free." I stood frozen, the silence of the room a mocking echo of my own terror. I became a prisoner in my own life, altering every routine, avoiding familiar paths, and yet the haunting persisted. One morning I awoke to discover a neat line of muddy footprints outside my door, footprints that led nowhere, yet whispered a silent promise of perpetual surveillance. Every creak of the floor, every rustle of the wind reminded me that I was never truly alone. In my darkest moments, I resolved to confront the horror head-on. One night I sat before my mirror, its surface fogged by the chill of an impending storm, and demanded in a voice barely above a whisper, "Who are you? What do you want from me?" The room held its breath, the only sound my own pounding heart, until in the dim light the shadow shifted. For a heartbeat, the figure's features merged with my own, a twisted, spectral version of me, haunted by a lifetime of unspoken grief and regret. A cold, sorrowful smile spread across that phantom face. And in that moment, I understood the terrible truth. I was being stalked by my own repressed memories, by a fractured part of myself that had been waiting all these years to be seen. The realization was like a fracture in my soul. Marianne Holloway's story, the cryptic voicemails, the ghostly sightings, all converged into one horrifying epiphany. The terror that had haunted me was not the work of an external predator, but the echo of my own hidden darkness. Marianne's spirit had been a mirror, reflecting back to me the parts I had tried so desperately to bury. Perhaps in her tragic disappearance I had found a kindred spirit, both of us in our own ways haunted by secrets and the desperate need to be remembered. Determined to break the cycle, I organized a small memorial on the anniversary of Marianne's disappearance. I shared her story with anyone who would listen, displaying her faded sketch and reading passages from the recovered journal. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the quad, I returned to the ancient oak where I'd once seen those spectral eyes. I knelt and whispered, "Marianne, I remember you. I see your truth." For a moment the air grew heavy with a bittersweet relief, as if the weight of decades was finally beginning to lift. But even as I took that step toward reconciliation, I know the haunting is far from over. The echoes of the past linger, and sometimes, on quiet nights when the campus is shrouded in mist and silence, I still hear a soft, distorted whisper on my phone. "I've seen you since you were small." It serves as a chilling reminder that the most terrifying stalker is not a stranger lurking in the shadows. It is the ghost of our own past, a part of us that we can never truly escape. Remember, the deepest horrors lie not in the darkness around us, but in the shadows within, where forgotten souls and unspoken secrets forever wait to be remembered.